Our topic is cardiac cycle. Cardiac cycle consists of an atrial systole, ventricular systole. When one atrial systole, that means contraction of the auricles and contraction of ventricles, along with joint diastole, that means relaxation of both auricles and ventricles, constitute one cardiac cycle, which is about 0.8 second. The time duration taken for one cardiac cycle is 0.8 second. Now what will happen is atrial systole, contraction of the auricles. It lasts for only 0.1 second. That means very short duration. You can see over here also atrial systole lasts for 0.1 second. When the auricles have contracted completely, the blood enters into the ventricles and now the ventricles are fully filled. Now the ventricles starts contracting and the contraction of the ventricle or ventricular systole lasts for about 0.3 seconds. When the ventricles has contracted, earlier auricles have contracted, now these two are relaxing. So relaxation period for both auricle and ventricle is 0.4 seconds. So we call it as joint diastole because both auricles and ventricles are undergoing relaxation or in the diastolic phase. So now we'll discuss the joint cardiac cycle in detail. Cardiac cycle consists of, first of all, atrial systole, that is contraction of the auricles. Now when the contraction of auricles begins, that means auricles contract when it receives the blood. So auricle is receiving the blood from the lungs as well as from the body. From the lungs, pulmonary veins, they are bringing the lungs to the left part of the auricles, and vena cava, superior vena cava and inferior vena cava is bringing the blood to the right part of the body. That means deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood is brought to the auricles of the heart from the left and the right region. Now when the auricles are completely filled with the blood, then the wave or the contraction impulse, we call it as impulse of contraction, it begins in the SA node, which is located in the right auricle, extreme right of the right auricle, and this SA node, it is a muscular system which receives the impulse or which starts generate. It is an auto generating muscle. Okay, so it starts generating the impulse, and this impulse of contraction, it spreads over the auricles. The complete auricles receives the impulse of contraction and the auricle starts contracting. When the auricles contract, the flow of the blood from the auricles enter into the ventricles through the opening of the valves, and these valves are tricuspid valves and bicuspid valves. Tricuspid valves, these are present on the right part of the heart, and bicuspid valves or mitral valves present on the left part of the heart. So when the blood is received in the ventricles, that is due to the contraction of the auricles, and the contraction of the auricles, it lasts for 0.1 seconds. And when the auricular systole is end, at that time atrial diastole, that means relaxation of the auricles, and ventricular systole, that means contraction of the ventricles, begins simultaneously. Atrial diastole, it lasts for 0.7 second. Atrial systole lasts for 0.1 second and atrial diastole lasts for 0.7 second. That means for contraction, auricles require 0.1 second, and to relax, auricle is taking 0.7 seconds. Now this was the auricular systole. Now we talk about the ventricular systole. Ventricular systole involves the atrial diastole and ventricular systole. They both occur simultaneously, because when the wave of contraction from the SA node is there, which results in the contraction of the auricle, that wave of contraction from SA node is received by the AV node, atrioventricular node, and then it emits the another impulse of contraction which spreads to the ventricular muscles. Now the wave of contraction is received by the AV node which spreads throughout the complete ventricle muscles, and now the muscle starts contracting. From ventricular muscles, okay, ventricular muscles, they receives the impulses from the AV node, and this AV node is connected with the bundle of His, because these bundle of His arises from the AV node, and from bundle of His the nerve of impulse, it the impulse passes to the Purkinje fibers, and Purkinje fibers transfer the impulse to the complete ventricles, and then the ventricles contract and the blood from the ventricles is released out of the heart. That means from the left region it goes to the body, and from right part of the heart the blood goes to the lungs for purification. This complete process of ventricular systole, it takes 0.3 seconds. Now we talk about the joint diastole. Joint diastole is the relaxation period of both the auricles and ventricles, and this lasts for about 0.4 seconds, and after that again the another cardiac cycle begins with the atrial systole.